All right, let's jump right in. We're going to break down the biggest ideas from James Clear's fantastic book, Atomic Habits. And the main idea is actually pretty simple, but it's also kind of mind-blowing. Real, lasting change comes from the combined effect of hundreds of tiny decisions, what he calls atomic habits. But first, let's start with a question I think we've all asked ourselves at some point. You know the feeling, right? You decide you're going to learn guitar, or get in shape, or finally start that side project. You're fired up. And then a few weeks later, poof, you're right back where you started. So what is going on there? Well, this slide just nails it. This is the classic trap we all fall into. We think progress should be this nice, straight, linear line. You know, you put in the work, you see the results, simple. But the truth is, the really big, powerful outcomes, they're delayed. And that gap, that space between what we think should be happening and what's actually happening, that's what Clear calls the valley of disappointment. It's that frustrating place where most of us give up, usually right before things are about to take off. And that leads us straight into the first huge idea from the book. We need to completely rethink how change really happens. It's not about some massive overnight breakthrough. So here's the secret. Success isn't about that one heroic moment. It's not a once-in-a-lifetime transformation. It's simply the product of your daily habits. It's about all those small, seemingly boring things you do over and over and over again. I love this quote. It's apparently posted in the locker room of the San Antonio Spurs, one of the most successful basketball teams ever. Just picture it. A stone cutter hits a rock 100 times, and nothing, not even a crack. But on the 101st hit, the rock splits in two. Now, was it that last hit that did it? Of course not. It was all the hits that came before it. That is exactly how habits work. So what's the engine driving all of this? It's a little thing called compounding. Yeah. Just like with money, we totally underestimate what getting just 1% better every single day can do. It doesn't feel like much in the moment, but over a year, the results are absolutely staggering. And if you're wondering if this 1% stuff actually works in the real world, oh yeah, take the British cycling team. For about 100 years, they were okay. They were pretty terrible. Then they brought in a new guy who introduced this idea called the aggregation of marginal gains. And they went deep. They improved everything they could think of by just 1%. Not just the bikes. They tested massage gels. They hired a surgeon to teach the riders the right way to wash their hands to avoid getting sick. They figured out the perfect pillow for each rider's sleep posture. They even painted the inside of the team truck white so they could spot tiny bits of dust that might mess with the bikes. And the result? They basically dominated the entire sport for a decade. Okay, so if these tiny habits are the key, how in the world do we actually build them? Well, one of the biggest principles is you have to design your environment for success. You know, we love to think it's all about willpower, that we just need to be tougher or more motivated. But the book argues that actually our environment, the cues and triggers all around us, is like this invisible hand that guides almost everything we do. Check this out. It's a perfect real-world example. A hospital wanted people to drink more water, but instead of putting up posters, they just redesigned the cafeteria. On the left, you've got the original layout. On the right, you see the super simple change. They just put water everywhere, in every fridge, at news stations, all over the room. And get this, the result of that one little change, water sales shot up by more than 25%, and soda sales dropped, all without telling a single person what to do. The takeaway here is so practical. We are wired to do what we see. It's that simple. You want to eat more fruit? Don't hide it in the back of the fridge. Put it in a bowl right on the kitchen counter. You want to practice guitar? Don't leave it in the case in your closet. Put it on a stand right in the middle of your living room. You have to make your good habits obvious. All right, next up, another fundamental law of behavior change. It's all about making your habits easy. See, our brains are basically wired to be lazy. They want to conserve energy whenever possible. So we will always gravitate toward the path of least effort. There's this great story in the book about a photography professor at the University of Florida. On the first day of class, he divides everyone into two groups. The quantity group on the left would be graded purely on how many photos they submitted. 100 photos, you get an A. The quality group, on the other hand, only had to produce one single photo, but it had to be a nearly perfect image. So at the end of the semester, which group do you think actually produced the highest quality, most amazing photographs? It was the quantity group, and it wasn't even close. So why this is so important?
While the quality group was sitting around theorizing about perfection, the quantity group was out there just shooting photos. They were experimenting, they were making mistakes, they were learning from them, they were honing their craft through sheer repetition. The lesson is, you just gotta start. Action is better than waiting for perfection. You have to make it easy to get your reps in.
Okay, so we've talked about the practical stuff, the nuts and bolts. But there's a much deeper level to all of this, because the real goal of building habits isn't just about getting results. It's about changing your identity.
I mean, really think about it. When we try to build a new habit, what are we really trying to do? Are we just chasing an outcome, or is there something bigger going on?
Take the story of a man who wanted to stop biting his nails. Willpower didn't work. But then he tried something different. He got a professional manicure. And for the first time, his nails actually looked nice, and he started to feel proud of them. See, the whole game changed in his head. He stopped seeing himself as someone trying to stop biting his nails and started seeing himself as the type of person who takes pride in caring for his hands. The action created a brand new identity. And that brings us to this key quote from the book. Every single action you take is like casting a vote for the type of person you want to become. So the goal isn't just to read a book. The goal is to become a reader. The goal isn't just to run a marathon. The goal is to become a runner.
And honestly, this might be the most powerful idea in the entire book. It's not about what you get in the end, it's about who you become along the way. Your habits shape your identity, and then your identity starts to shape your habits. It's this amazing feedback loop.
So, how do we keep all this going? The comedian Jerry Seinfeld has this legendary, super simple method for staying consistent. His goal was to write jokes every single day, so he'd get a huge wall calendar and a red marker. For every day that he wrote, he'd put a big red X over that day. He said, after a few days, you'll have a chain, and your only job after that is to not break the chain. Simple as that. And that brings us to the final question, and this one is just for you. Forget about some massive life-altering goal for next year. Just think about today, right now. What is one tiny atomic-level change you can make that casts a vote for the person you ultimately want to become? Because that, right there, is where it all begins.